Ed from Runnable. Welcome to Saturday morning. You know what that means. It's Parkrun time. Not actually feeling that great. I'm moaning again, sorry. But I am actually not feeling that great. I've had a chest infection for best part of 2 weeks. But I feel like I'm ready to start running again. So I'll give it my best shot. And I've got a little surprise. I've got a new pair of shoes. Ooh, the cat doesn't like it. Look. Cat's off. The new pair of shoes are, there you go, Asic Metaspeed Edge Paris. I nearly said Sky. I've got the Sky. This is the Edge Paris, which I want to try out. I love the Sky. I've got a feeling I may not like these as much, but I wanted to see. They seem a bit narrower to me already, just by looking at them. The toe box seems narrower, but anyway, I'll let you know how it goes on. I'll hopefully do a little bit of filming. A bit rushed this morning, so I'll see what I can do, but hopefully, yeah, I'll get some footage out there. And I'm not expecting an amazing time, but I'll give it a go. And you know, sometimes things go better than you expect, so in life. So let's see. Anyway, see you later. Bye bye. Well, they're on, but they're definitely a snugger fit for my big feet. But we'll see how they get on.
Hello, so just done the Oak Hill Parkrun. Yeah, tough today. Really struggled. There's 3 laps of Oak Hill, and I guess about 1.5 laps in, I was like, this is going to be tricky. I managed to get second place, which is good, and didn't have the energy to try and get first today. And the guy was running, who won it, I don't know his name actually, but I've seen him before. He's a good runner. Just couldn't keep with him, and that's nothing to do with the shoes. So that's the Metaspeed Edge Paris. They performed really well today. I quite like them actually. I like the foam. Is just this FF Turbo Plus is just such a good foam. You get a nice little spring bounce from it, just like with the Sky Paris. I think the key difference I found was, I wonder if anyone else has the same feeling, those that own both shoes, the Paris, it kind of pops you forward almost higher in the air, whereas the Edge, you get less of a bounce, but it kind of propels you kind of forward, not so much in the air. You don't fly into the air like you do with the Paris. So I kind of feel like the Edge might be more kind of economical, the economical of the 2 shoes, but the Sky seems a bit more fun to me. I feel like I engage the rocker a little bit more in the Edge than I do with the Paris. So I think this will suit people more who like rockered shoes, who likes getting thrown forward rather than up and forward, if you know what I mean. So you spend, clumsily, what I'm trying to say is I think you spend less time in the air with this shoe because it doesn't propel you as high, and I think potentially it's more efficient. So I think this could easily be my 5k shoe of choice. What I would say though, it's narrow. It's narrower than Sky. It's a lot narrower in the forefoot. So I really noticed that. So I struggle to see myself taking this past 10k. I think my feet might get a bit too cramped. I've got quite wide feet. So for those with wide feet, just be aware you might prefer the Sky because it's just got a lot more room in the forefoot, and it literally has got a lot more room. I'm feeling that. But yeah, it's a snug fit. It's a really nice race fit. They're really light. They're really propulsive. You get a nice roll through your stride. Slightly more rockered than the Sky. I think this could easily be a really good track 5k, 10k potentially shoe. It's designed to go fast in, right? With the Sky, I think I could take longer. I could do half, maybe a marathon in that shoe. It's just got a wider platform to land on, and I feel like you get that nice spring with the Sky that takes the edge off the impact, whereas this is a little bit firmer, not much, still a nice shoe to run in, but a little bit firmer. And I feel like, over like a half marathon distance, that extra firmness, that small extra firmness will start to take its toll on my legs. That's kind of what I feel. I think it's an incredible shoe. I think it's right up there with the best shoes. It's possibly my best 5k shoe. Right, I'm going to moan a minute here. I'm not very well at the moment, as I've told a few people. I've had a chest infection for 2 weeks, and I still went sub 18 today with this shoe. I wasn't expecting that. So it's a quick shoe. I'm not someone who, is running, in the 16s. I'm in the 17s or 18s. So, I think I'm around about 1740 something in this shoe, and for me that's a good standard, right? So I know that these shoes have helped me run quite a quick race today when I'm not feeling that well and didn't have a lot of energy. So that's it really. So yeah, let's show you the shoes, and you highly recommend them for those that like that kind of rockered feeling. It's not as rockered as the Endorphin Elite, but still, it's, you can feel the rocker in it. Who likes, obviously a light shoe, who doesn't, and who likes just that kind of shoe that kind of tips you forward a little bit and wants you to run fast, this is a great shoe. It's not the most stable shoe. And for those of you, I know there's quite a few on this channel who likes the Diadora Gara, nowhere near as stable as that shoe, or as comfy as that shoe. So they're the downsides. What you gain in speed and you know, and weight and lack of weight, you lose in stability a little bit here. So that's why for me, I think the Edge is going to be my 5K shoe of choice. I'm going to use it when I'm feeling a bit better. I'm going to use it again, possibly in a couple of weeks in Battersea Park, and chase the PB on that race, hopefully if I'm feeling better. Anyway, that's all I want to say. It's a really good shoe. Asics are smashing it this year with the Sky and Edge Paris. And yeah, take care, and I'll do the full review later. Bye bye.
Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. I've got some exciting news today. I've run for the first time in a shoe that I've had real trouble getting hold of, the Asic Metaspeed Edge Paris. Okay, so I ran at my local Parkrun, so I gave it a good going over in terms of like testing this out at real pace, well, pace for me anyway. And yeah, so this review I'll let you know how it felt on the run, what I liked about the shoe, what I didn't like so much about the shoe, how it compares to the Sky Paris in particular, and who I think the shoe would be good for, and whether I think this is a good shoe, full stop. Okay, so some basic stats. So this came in at 196 grams in my UK size 9. So it's about 10 grams heavier than the Sky, but it's still a remarkably light shoe. It's the second light shoe that I own after this one. So the weight wise, absolutely amazing. Feels so light on your foot, very nimble shoe. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. Stack height, you've got 39.5 in the heel, 34.5 in the forefoot, giving a 5mm drop. And it feels like a 5mm drop, but it does have quite a nice pronounced rocker. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, because that's one slight difference, I think, from the Sky that we can talk about. So upper wise, you've got this nice engineered mesh upper. It's really nice, breathable, hugs the foot very nicely. It's not that wide in the forefoot, so it really did hug my rather wide feet. That said, I didn't have too many issues with the upper. You know, I didn't really notice it on the run. So all in all, I think it worked quite well, but it did feel quite tight. It felt very much like a race fit, and if you're okay with that, then you should be fine. If you like it a little bit roomier, then you might want to size up, particularly if you've got wide feet like me, and maybe half a size up. But I went true to size, and it was fine for me. I'd have to say that if I was running a half marathon or a full marathon, that I might have a different opinion on the sizing. But for 5K, this was absolutely fine. So upper was fine. Tongs, flimsy tongue, but it kind of works. I was able to cinch down the laces, didn't use a runner's knot, and it was fine. Lockdown's really good, actually. It's got a semi-rigid heel counter. I had no problems at all with my heel, my Achilles, and it's got nice, reasonably padded heel collar as well, and that gives, all in all, gives you a very good lockdown. So absolutely no issues with the upper, but like I said, if I was running a longer distance, given how constrained it felt around my foot, maybe I might go up half a size. So that's something to consider. Okay, the outsole, already it's getting discoloured. I think it's a good outsole. I think it gripped quite well. There were some wet spots out there today with leaves a bit moist, and it gripped perfectly fine. I do feel like it won't be the most durable of shoes just because of the amount of exposed foam, but actually where the rubber is are the main key areas where you land, so I think it will be fine. I just like with the Sky, I just wouldn't use this for much more than racing. Maybe doing the interval sessions or on the track, but I certainly wouldn't use this for doing long runs or anything off-road. I would avoid this because I think you might damage the foam. But that said, it's got a good cushioning, and we'll talk about midsole now. Really nicely cushioned. You've got a lot of cushion under the forefoot actually, because of the low drop. And with the plate being much lower, as you can see there, if I run my hand where the plate goes right down the bottom there, so it scoops down. It's not as flat as with the Sky. You can see with the Sky, the plate remains quite high up here, see? Yeah, and stays high up by the heel. Whereas with the Edge, a key difference is it starts high up, and if you watch me trace my finger, and it ends up quite low down on the forefoot, as you can see with my finger, okay? And that is a massive difference between the two. And you do feel that difference. You feel like there's a lot more foam underfoot. It's a slightly firmer feel under the forefoot. By no means firm, but slightly firmer than this shoe. It's still fine and it feels very responsive still. I mean, it's great feeling, this foam. I think this FF Turbo Plus is an amazing foam that Asics have developed. It's probably up there with Zoom X as the best foam out on the market, and some of the Hoka foams now, like you've got in these Cielos. It's really lovely and bouncy. And I think with the lower plate, lots of people are going to get on with this because you feel all that cushion under your forefoot before you hit the plate. I found that I didn't feel like I was engaging the plate quite as much as I did in the Sky Paris, which you engage it quite a lot because it's higher up. And that meant that as I was running, rather than this bounce that bounced me up into the air, I was getting this a little bit more muted bounce, but it was because there seems to be an earlier rocker here, it was throwing me forward a bit more. So it kind of felt a little bit more efficient, if you get what I'm saying. Like I spent less time in the air and more time traveling forward. And so, you know, with this foam being as good as it is and the shoe being very small, nimble, quite narrow in the forefoot, narrow across the shoe, full stop, as you can see. It's not the most stable shoe, but what it is, I think, is a very efficient shoe. And I think for me, I could see this being a go-to 5K shoe because I really did get some really nice flow with this shoe. It was so light, it's got a nice rocker that allows me to hit the ground and you get that little ping forward because of the foam. I don't feel like I can get, like I said, engage the plate anywhere near as much as I did with the Sky Paris. But in a way, that wasn't such a bad thing because it meant that I was, rather than flying upwards like I do in this shoe, I was flying forwards. So I think this could be, for me, a more efficient shoe over the 5K distance. I felt this, they were slightly different in terms of the, the feel as well. I think this is a roomier shoe. So I would say if you've got wide feet, the Sky Paris is going to be a better bet for you. And I also think for me, it's a little bit more stable shoe. It's got a wider, it's so hard to see with the camera, but believe it or not, this forefoot is wider than this, and you can kind of see it more. You can see the bigger heel, the flare here, sole flare here, as opposed to this shoe, where it's a lot more minimal, okay? So this means that this has got such a wider base to land on, and I think this leads me to believe that they'll be good. These two could actually be good at different types of races. So I'm starting to think already that this will be better for shorter distances like 5 and 10K. I feel like this is the more efficient of the shoes. I think that this is a very efficient shoe as well, but I think this is even more efficient. But because of there's less of a platform for me to land on,
I have to concentrate more in this shoe. It's less stable. It means that the longer the distance, the more my form, when it starts to go a little bit, the more I'd rather have this shoe. And neither, I would say, are particularly stable, but this, I think, for me, would be definitely something I wouldn't really want to go past half marathon. I might not even take this to half marathon length. Whereas this, potentially, I would, and I will actually take this, I'll do the half marathon this year. And I might, depending on that, might do a marathon this year. But I already can kind of feel that I wouldn't probably do it with the Edge. In terms of running in the Edge, it was very nimble, light. Like I said, it allowed me to flow. I got a real nice cadence built up in this shoe. I wasn't feeling very well, but in the Parkrun, as you'll see a bit later, I managed to get a decent time. I did. I think it was 17:38, which is round about my second fastest time on that Parkrun, second or third fastest. And I was suffering a bit at the end. I couldn't breathe that well because I've had this chest infection for 2 weeks, and I was touch and go whether I was going to run today, but I really wanted to try these out. I came second in the race, and so all these things together were beyond what I thought I was capable of today, and I think this shoe helped. I think it allowed me to pick up speed because it's so light, and it allowed me to pick up my cadence as well. I think my cadence today, I'll check the stats later on, but I think my cadence might have been higher than usual today, and I think that's partly because of this shoe. It feels so nice and natural to run in this shoe. Like I said, the downsides are the stability. Okay, it's not the most stable shoe, and potentially the durability. But other than that, I struggle to see the downsides. It's not one of the most expensive racing shoes at £220. Yes, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as the Cielo. It's not as expensive as the New Balance Fuel Cell Super Comp Elite version 4, for instance. It's nowhere near as expensive as the Saucony Endorphin Elite. And it's comparable with those shoes at those lower distances. So if you're somebody who runs predominantly park runs, 5Ks, 10Ks, I think this is a real option for you. There are other shoes out there, one of which is the Sky. You might prefer the wider base, like I said. I think of the two, I like the feel of the Sky better, but I'm kind of feeling this is the more efficient shoe in terms of speed, pure speed. So I think going forward, these two are really high up on my list of first choices for a number of different types of racing. So I'd say for 5K already, I'm thinking first choice, Edge. 10K is close. That's where they kind of meet and converge. I think just the Sky, because I prefer it. It's a little bit more stable and it feels nicer to me as a runner. But it's so close, that one. Sky for half, and potentially full marathon. Although I've been wearing the Cielo for the last 2 marathons. For London and Chicago, in between around in the Endorphin Elite in Berlin. But the Cielo is a lovely shoe for marathon running. It is a bit heavier, but it's so comfortable, and you get that nice flow and protection. And as you start to falter in a marathon, it's got a much wider base than either of these two. So so that's how I see it really. I find a really, really, really good 5K shoe. It's nice to run in, nimble, fast, propulsive, a lovely shoe. I just feel like, for me, I feel slightly it's not like I'm worried about the stability, but I'm conscious of it. It's not like Prime X Strung where I am just like worried about it. I'm not worried about the stability in this, but I do feel like the longer I go in this shoe, the more that might become an issue. I had a slight pain in my ankle after the race, and that could be because of how narrow the platform is, and I'm not used to landing on such a narrow platform. But all in all, fabulous shoe, highly recommend it. If you're someone who likes a little bit of a rocker, somebody who's a cadence runner,
somebody who's, you know, light on their feet, somebody who doesn't need like a huge, I mean, it's got a big stack, but it's not a big shoe, right? So you don't need to have that impact protection so much. I think this is a brilliant shoe, to be honest. And you know, I think I can see lighter runners actually getting a lot out of this shoe. I know I mentioned a lot about shoes recently where it's good for heavier runners. I think this one is particularly good if you're a lighter runner. And so it kind of suits me. I'm around about 10 stone. 4-foot strikers kind of suits me. Although this, being a 4-foot striker, I think the Sky Paris suits me even more. And that's the other thing, the final thing I'll say on it. I think this is also a better shoe for heel strikers. It's got a bigger base. You have a look. I said I wouldn't compare these two, but I am. You know, I can't help but compare them because it's a very interesting comparison. It's got this is the edge. It's got a wider base at the heel, by no means wide, but it's wider than the Paris. And then it stays quite narrow, whereas the Paris widens for the 4-foot. So I do feel like 4-foot bounders, potentially lower cadence runners, will probably get more out of the Sky. I think I'm somewhere in between actually. I think my cadence is fairly high, but I've got more of a bounding style than a shuffling style. So that's what makes it intriguing for me. I'm somewhere in between this year. Maybe one day Asics are going to produce the perfect shoe for someone like me, but I'm somewhere in between. So what I'm going to do is going to use, and I know money, you know, most people, including myself, we haven't got loads of cash, so I'm not suggesting you go and do this, but what you could do is you could use this for your 5, maybe 10Ks, your half marathons, right? You could have 2 racing shoes here. If I had to pick one, I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to do a video on that. See if you can guess in the comments, but there is one that I actually prefer of the 2. But I'll do a video comparing the 2 together, and I'll go into more detail about what I've been talking about. So Oak Hill Parkrun was fabulous today. Met lots of really nice people as usual. Had a great time. Loved parkruns, and this shoe did me proud. Given that I'm not feeling that well, I still ran a very fast time for me. I came second and enjoyed every minute of it. And yeah, absolutely love parkruns. Again, put in the comments if there's a parkrun in London that you think I should do. You know, put it in the comments because I'm interested in trying a few of them. I've got my eye on Burgess Parkrun, the Battersea Parkrun that's recently opened. I know there's lots of events there, so it won't be on every weekend. Some maybe in West London, like Richmond or Osterley Park or that kind of, or even the original Parkrun, Bushy. You know, I'm in North London, so any of them around here would be great to know about. And yeah, put them in the comments if you think there's one in particular that I should give a go. Even if it's not in London, some outside of London, you know, that you think are good. I'm willing to travel a bit to go and experience them because I absolutely love them. I can test the shoes out while I'm there. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say today. I had a great time. Hope you found this an interesting review. I think this is clearly a very good shoe, and for those that I said who haven't got maybe that wide a foot, they like their high cadence runners, they want a light shoe, maybe they're lighter runners, they like something nimble. I think this is going to be a great shoe, and particularly I think at those 5, 10K race distances, I think this is superb. Anyway, see you later. Bye bye.